Hello, and this is the Rambler Report. No, it's not Coach Derek Dean talking. It's James Lott Jr., head of JLJ Media, the channel that houses his podcast, his hit podcast. But I do have Coach Dean with me. So hello. How you doing,
How
Derek?
are you doing, James? Uh, I feel like I met you just tonight, and I feel like we've known each other forever, man.
Oh my God.
It's been a great talking to you here. So looking forward. You told me you had done some research, so I'm a little scared of where this might go, but
Whee!
look forward to it.
I love it. Yeah, no, I feel like I know you a long time too. I know. So, folks, so people who are listening to the podcast and have not seen him, now you get to see his handsome face. It's him. He's here. Got great smile, great teeth. Working all out. He's here from the Midwest. But folks who are watching this, because I have a lot of fans who are gonna watch this because it's on my YouTube channel, JLJ Media. I have a show. Well, he has a show on my network called The Rambler Report. They are from Attica and Attica High School. Well, it's K through 8 school, so junior, it's all that kind of stuff. But he's the football coach there. He's also the host. And we're going to talk about all of that when we get here. But I want you guys to know this audio only series is on every single streaming platform search you can think of. We got it out there to everybody. But this is a special episode to get to know him and promote the show. And that's why it's on video also. So, but if you're a listener, listeners, we appreciate you. We're going to talk. Okay, so number one, Coach, I was doing research on you, and well, first of all, congratulations on the success of the show here on JLJ Media. It's one of our fastest growing shows ever we've ever had in the 4 or 5 years I've been doing this. It's already a hit for us for this nice niche, very niche programming. So congratulations.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think it has a lot to do with the town that I'm teaching and coaching in. Attica really does embrace their people, their community, and our get behind us. You know, the football team unfortunately has struggled over the last couple of years, but you wouldn't know it coming out to a football game on Friday. The fans, the community are all out supporting our boys, and are behind us and willing us. So I know it's not necessarily where the everybody would like it to be right now, but I think it just, like I said, kind of goes along with the way that Attica does things and the way they support their own and their community. And it's a tight knit community. So I shouldn't, I am surprised, but not surprised that has gotten some love, because the people, from the community do care, share the podcast out. I share the podcast out. I have some fraternity brothers, from college that really enjoy getting to see it. You know, I don't get to see them all the time. So it has been a good thing for me to kind of start to connect with some people that I don't get to see all the time, but then also for the community to feel like they're a part of what we're doing. And that's what we really want that that to be the case is we want people to know that we're Attica football, but it takes the whole community and everybody, to get this thing where we want to. So, you know, we appreciate the support from the community and all the people out there that listen. And then obviously thank you to you, James, because you're the guy who made it happen. Without you, none of this happens. I would have had zero clue, and I've said that before, to where to start with a podcast. So having, you and Doug on board to help me grow our brand and put our name out there, for people to be able to follow along has been awesome.
Thank you. Doug Hess is the person who connected us, who's part of JLJ Media also, a lot of shows. It's Attica's in Attica, Indiana, correct? Their high
Yes,
school.
sir.
So I want folks to know that it's so what so tell the nearest city would be biggest city that we may know of would be
Would be Lafayette. So if you there's high school college football fans out, Purdue University is
oh
about 35 minutes from Attica.
yeah, we know Purdue folks, we know that one.
Yeah.
And you have a new field. Congratulations on your new field.
Yeah, we actually got to practice on that for the
How's it
first
feel?
time tonight. It's amazing. I can't even begin to say thank you to everybody who made that happen for our boys and for our football program. It is something that we can be very, very proud of. There's not going to be another school our size that's going to be able to boast uh, a facility that looks like that. And you know, we have the new turf, which is kind of the hit of and what everybody wants these days. But yeah, so we went out and we practiced in the rain today. No mud. It was awesome. I didn't hear a single kid complain because we were out there on that brand new turf, in a brand new stadium, that we're really looking forward to hopefully get to open up here to end our regular season, with our last home game being there. So it's super awesome. I'll share some pictures with you, after we're done. But it's beautiful.
Yeah, I'd rather you guys had a new stadium coming, so that's good. Okay, so my research was so folks, I don't know what goes into hiring a football coach. I mean, really had no idea. Like I went to high school, and I played football. I don't know how they hire people because all of a sudden there's a coach there. Well, I did some of my research. There, at least I have this correct. So I guess the school board, or they were helping doing they were doing the interviews. There were
Yeah, so
23. I'm gonna get there.
okay.
I'm gassing you up right now, as the kids would say. 23 applicants, folks. They chose him. He came from somewhere else, but kind of local, and they
Yeah.
chose him. They said it was an extensive. They kept using the word. All the interviews I saw and write ups were like extensive interview process, and he got it. This guy I'm pointing up. It's gonna be this way or this way. Where in the video? I mean, he got it. So I'm right now. So I'm gonna gas you up right now. I'll be like, oh my goodness, that's good. So now tell us, what was the process? The extensive process.
Yeah. So, for me, I submitted an application with the then superintendent at the time, John Acton. Submitted my information, everything there, yep, those guys, references to him. And then I was called in for my first interview. Spent probably 45 minutes to an hour in an interview with a panel of a couple different people. It was one of the junior high football coaches, the acting athletic director at the time, the treasurer for the ECA, so the extracurricular activities, the mom of my now quarterback, and there may have been one other person in the interview. I hope, man, this sounds really bad.
It don't matter. You're being interviewed. You're busy being
But
interviewed.
yeah,
So
so we
there's a
had that
panel.
panel, and they, like I said, 45 minutes to an hour of talking to them,
But
and
what
then
were they at? Like, what were they asking? I'm just really curious. Like,
man,
what were they asking you?
everything, why Attica? That was a big one. Is why Attica, and then why should we go with Coach Dean? I did what the only thing I know how to do, and I just went into there, wore my heart, my emotions, and myself on my sleeve, and was myself and answered everything as truthfully and honestly as I could. And I made the statement to them multiple times that, what you see is what you get. Um, I am who I am, and I'm unapologetically who I am. And I may not be for everybody, but what I can promise you is if I'm chosen for this job, that there won't be anything that comes before Attica and the kids here at Attica. My goal and the reason that I coach is because I'm blessed to have an opportunity to have a relationship with my high school football coach that I think is extremely special. Um, and I want to provide that for every kid that plays for me because I think every young person deserves that. It's a special bond that I have with my coach. He's a guy who's like a second dad to me. So did that, so there's a lot of questions like that, why Attica, what's your coaching philosophy? What are you going to do to turn Attica around? What sets you apart from other people? Um, and like I said, I went in there, and did what I think is who I am. I just put myself out there, um, tried to show a little bit of the passion that I have for helping young kids and mentoring and coaching. Um, and was just honest. And I hope that anybody that set in any of those two or three interviews that I had, now after getting to see me be involved in the community, um, realizes that that was all real, and that is who I am. And before it's all said and done, I'm going to give every ounce of me to make sure that this football program returns back to the way that it had been, in the early 2000s when they were having a lot of success. So yeah, so that first interview, and then got called back for a second interview. That one had the superintendent at the time, athletic director, principal, um, and maybe the treasurers again in there. And it got a little deeper. What's the day job going to look like? What am I doing day to day? Um, what are
Oh,
the expectations of what are the expectations of me? What and I even they gave me a time to ask questions of them,
okay.
which I thought was nice because there were questions that I had from my experience in another school that didn't necessarily always go the way I liked it. So I had to interview them as much as they had to interview me. But the one thing that I really can say that's shown through all of the interview and all the questions and all the phone calls was the people who were conducting the interviews cared a lot about Attica. Cared a lot about Attica. There, most of them are Attica people or had been involved in the community a long time, and coming from a small town, that's really what I was looking for. Is some place that I could feel like was going to embrace me, I can embrace them, and we could grow and form something special together. And that's still the plan today. I think I feel like I get a question every single day. Um, if I'm leaving, I think the past, the last three coaches have all been one and done.
Uh,
So I think they wanted to know that I was bought in. There was a lot of stuff brought up in the interview. Are you moving to Attica? Um, and
uh,
I was very honest that, I just bought a house in Brookston, and I really wasn't looking to move, but the drive, it's about 50 minutes for me, was never going to be an issue.
okay.
Um,
Okay.
they were gonna see me at things that were going on in the community, not just the football games. I was gonna be involved with as much as I could, get the football team out and try to do as many things as we can. We have an off-road park in Attica that's pretty popular across the state of Indiana. People come from all over really to go there, but we've been able to partner with them and do some events and help them. They do the world's largest Easter egg hunt,
Oh my God.
they
Okay.
claim, and it's
Okay.
in this massive ATV park.
Oh my
And
God.
a handful of our kids went out dressed up as Easter bunnies and stuff and ran games out in the park. So that was fun. They had a concert. We helped park the cars for that. There's another one coming up on the 28th where we're going to help park cars again. So it is just, I mean, there was so much, like you said, that did go in it. And then, it was the talks back and forth of, okay, this is what it's going to look like. Well, I was thinking maybe this. And then it was a waiting game a little bit. After the second interview and some talks with the superintendent at the time, and I was kind of convinced that they were going some other way. That I was just kind of, it was like,
I
man,
mean, no offense to the other 22 people, but I mean, clearly you won them over.
yeah. And I hope that I continue to do that. Like I said, my goal is not just to see the football program at Attica succeed, but Attica as a whole. Attendance has kind of been down here the last couple of years, and we've kind of been losing students and stuff. And I want it's one of three schools in the county, and I want us to be the premier school, the school that people want to come be a part of, and they look at from the outside and say, I don't know what's going on over there, but whatever's in the water at Attica, I want some of that.
Let me ask you a question.
Um,
Let me stop there. From ask you a question. So this is a question I didn't have written down. So then, do you also kind of put your eyes on the students coming up because you're a
oh,
K
for
12
sure.
school? So, but yeah, I know you're
Yeah,
looking
for
outside, but
sure.
are
And
you
that was
kind of
another
like,
question that was a big part of the interview is they asked what my plan was for like the youth program
sure,
and stuff like that. And I'm really, really lucky. I have some amazing people that were already running the youth program who have continued to help me. Seth Rose, Tahisha Barnett, Ben Barnett are kind of the main ones. Bridget Ward, they do a fantastic job. We play flag football from K through 4, and then we start tackle football in 5th and 6th grade. And they run all that stuff, and I
yeah,
try to be as involved in that as I can. The last, well, this Sunday, flag got canceled because it was storming. But the two prior Sundays, me and a handful of the boys off the team were out working the concession stand, working the chains, working the clock for the game, and being out around our young kids, because that is really where a love for football is harvested. And when kids can see the guys they see on Friday nights and see that they're just another, they look up to them like they're almost stars. But to be able to touch those kids, high five, interact with those, that goes a long way. I know that's something that when growing up for me, I have an older brother and he was involved in the football program all the time. And it was just so cool because his friends from the football team would come over to our house and it's almost like they were kind of like,
oh
and
yeah,
you,
no,
and
yeah,
you
I'd say
look
that,
up to
yeah,
them.
yeah,
So to be able to give back to our youth programs and have our guys involved in that, when we have junior high games, our guys run the clock, our guys do the chains on the field, they're on the sidelines cheering those guys on. And it really is one big Attica football family. And that's the one thing that I try to bring. And I think is, we break out our huddles on family. Um, that is something that I stress to our kids is that it's not just the 4 years that you're in high school, but I mean, it goes all the way down to kindergarten. And we want everyone to feel like they're a part of this. And we try to give back to those young grades in any way that we can, and helping out, being around at their games, and working those things so the parents can sit and enjoy and watch their kids play instead of having to run a chain
Right.
or
Right.
do the clock or work the concession stand.
Right.
So it's an easy way for us to be involved with those guys, and girls at those younger levels, but still be able to give back and be around. Like I said, I think that does mean a lot when your young guys are able to see the big guys, and get around them and get to know them, and that harvests that pride in being part of Attica football, and
Yeah. Now,
that's
what I
I
want
think
to
has
ask
been missing.
you with that too is, so you get this job, and I mean, they're telling you what you know what you're facing, right? You're here to rebuild it, basically, the
Yeah,
team, and kind of rebuild it. So I mean, we're trying to get to know you just off the field. This is Coach Dean Unplugged. Well,
yeah.
unplugged we can get you, like get in trouble. Um, so when you have that, what were some of the first things that you kind of thought you like? Okay, I got to really. I know you're thinking, okay, I'm going to do this, but you got then now that it sets in, you got the job. What were some of the first feelings you felt that you had to do?
Well, the very first thing is I wanted to go get around the kids.
Oh wow,
I had to finish up my contract with my other school, so I wasn't able to step in right away and start teaching it and be there. So I had to find ways to take days off from my old school, but to get into Attica and get to start meeting the kids, and just trying to get a feel for what their experience has been with football, things they like, things they've disliked, things they've liked about past coaches, things they've disliked. The kid that I see in the hallway that looks huge and should be playing football, it's not. Hey man, why are you not playing football? But really just get into the school, get in and be able to meet the kids and start to form relationships, because I think there's this old thing: they won't know how much you care until they. Oh man, I don't even remember how this goes, but they don't care what you know until they know how much you care. So that was my thing, is I wanted to build relationships not only with the students but with everybody that's involved in the school, and just kind of get an outside perspective before I got to jump in of positive things with the football program, negative things with the football program. Why are kids playing? Why aren't kids playing? That was a big thing, was how are we going to grow the numbers? Because I think there was like 18 to 20 kids on the team last year, and we're up to 30 this year, which is awesome. For a school of 160 kids, 9 through 12, to have 30 on the football team is, I think, pretty good. We're not satisfied. I want to continue to grow. And then it was going and trying to get all of my stuff together to be able to present it to the kids, to start coaching my systems and the things that we do. But on top of the stuff on the field, is I knew that I needed to come with a plan for how we were going to conduct ourselves off the field,
okay,
and make it known that I don't play games when it comes to school. You're not going to be disrespectful. You're not going to be getting in trouble. You're going to make good grades. We're going to be involved with as much as we can, because you can't be successful on the football field until you're doing the right things off the football field. And I didn't know much about what was going on, and just things I'd heard, some struggle with attendance for some kids struggling with grades. We're still struggling with grades,
well,
and we have study tables once a week. The kids don't really enjoy it, but I try to tell them, like, I care more about you than this game of football. I really want to set my kids in my program up to go on and be successful in whatever it is they want to do in life. So I really do put a strong focus and emphasis on school, family, and doing things that aren't necessarily football centric, because I think a lot of those things show up on the football field. How can I ask you to be disciplined on the football field if you can't show up to school on time? If you can't turn in all your work?
yeah,
If you can't simply make C's, like I'm not asking to be an all A student. I'm not asking you to be an A, B student. I think C's. Um, but that to me seems kind of like the bare minimum, right? If you show up to class and do what you're supposed to do, you're gonna get those results.
Yeah.
But I can't trust you on the football field to make the right decision and do the right thing if you can't do that every day in life. So there, and then it was trying to find help, who was going to help me coach. I was lucky enough that there was a good group of assistant coaches that I got a feel from the kids that they all enjoyed.
Oh, okay.
So I did end up keeping all of the assistant coaches that were on staff, and that's been good because I've gotten a little perspective of how things have been over the last couple of years and some things that worked and some things that didn't. But I've had people that have rapport with my kids already. So I didn't have to just start cold with all brand new people. So I'm brand new and the direction is different, but there are familiar faces that the kids are used to being around. So that was really nice. And then it was, all right, we got to start building culture and the culture of doing things the right way, of lifting weights, of knowing what it takes to be a winner. A lot of people think winning just happens. You wake up one day and you become a winner. Really, what you don't see is all the things that go on behind the scenes, out of season, in the mornings, in the evenings, when you're not practicing, that turn people into winners. And getting kids to realize, are we saying that we want to be winners, or do we really want to be winners? And are we willing to take on this journey, this ride that we're going on together? And are we willing to put in the time? Are we willing to put in the effort? And I think it kind of hit them a little bit, but we're getting there. And I didn't expect it to go and be a 1 year turnaround. I knew where we were at, and when you're at the bottom, it takes a little bit of time to climb out. Um, so I knew, and that goes to there. I had to mentally prepare myself for that. I'm like any other football coach or any other competitive person. I hate to lose. I hate to lose. But what some kids have found out through some different things over the season is I hate losing off the field more than I hate losing on the field. If you don't pull your weight off the field and get your grades that you're supposed to get, come to school, you're not going to get a chance to win on the field for me. So it's a lot that went into it. But like I said, there was a lot of me that had to mentally prepare myself for what I was getting into. And I don't think there's any way once I got into it. And this isn't a negative comment. This is just of where we were, right? You don't ever know until you're in it. And once
Right,
I
right,
got
no,
in
right.
it,
Yeah, yeah.
and we do have a ways to go. But the thing that I think is really cool, and I mentioned this at our media day for the Wabash Valley Football Coaches Association, to have a group of kids that have lost 29, 30 games, whatever it is in a row, they still show up to practice. They still show up to games and they still play their heart out. That tells me that I have the right group of kids that just need the right direction.
Yeah.
That just need the right direction, some consistency of the coach, and I hope I can provide that. But I knew really early on when I saw that and I saw the kids come out and how determined they were that okay, this isn't a kid problem. There's some other things that have gone on that have unfortunately not given these kids the best chances to succeed. And I'm going to try to bring stability, um, and get things on the right track.
Yeah, no, I mean, I love that. I love that whole thing of off the field and on the field, same dedication. It's just, that's a good lesson just for life, period. When you become
Yes,
an
it is.
adult, as you know, adulting
Mhm.
is hard.
It's
Uh,
not easy.
it's
Everybody wants to do it until you got to do it.
Oh, there's times I want to get off. I'm like, I don't want to be an adult anymore. That's okay. But it is that well-roundedness that you're teaching them now, so I'll be able to handle the stuff at home or relationship or score college or job, and their home life, and it's a balance of all that stuff. You have to show up everywhere, right? You have to show up in all parts of your life,
Yeah, you don't get to pick and choose. It's not like I
right?
can show up when it's easy, right?
Right.
Uh,
Or show up just for football,
yeah,
not for your family or for they
yep,
can have it happens all the time, right? It happens all the time. You show up for one thing,
100%.
you like it, so you show up
Hmm.
for that. But everything else, like, whatever.
It's
And in
easy to
the
do
end, you
things you
lose
like.
again anyway. I'm sorry, go ahead.
It's easy to do things that you like.
Oh yeah, of course it is. Oh my god!
Um,
If
but
there
what
were certain things I could eliminate from what I do here and just do this all day long, yes, I would be.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's not
for
life
sure.
is like that.
Life is not.
Just like that. In your opinion and in your view? Because I'm going to ask you this question though, but what makes you a good coach? You think?
What makes me a good coach, man? I hate talking about myself.
I know we're going to talk about you.
Um,
That's what we're here for. We're talking about
I
you.
know. Um, I don't know. I think I have a pretty big heart. And I try to let kids know that I care about them more than just football. I'm not a transactional coach. I'm not a guy who you get you as a freshman and as a senior, I don't even after that, see you later, bye. No, that's not me. I really do try to build relationships with all my players and let every single kid that's a part of my program know that they're important. And important looks a lot of different ways. Looks a lot of different ways. In this game of football, it's a game of roles and playing your role. I think in some aspects I'm able to really level with some kids, especially the kid maybe who plays the offensive line, who is athletic, and maybe wants to touch the football. That was me in high school.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
I always felt like I was one of the most athletic kids, but the need of my team when I was in high school was to play the offensive line. So my coach called me in as a sophomore. He's like, "Hey, you want to play varsity football?" I said, "Sure do." He said, "You're going to play center." I said, "Okay." I didn't even really listen to what he said. He said, "You want to play?" And I said, "Yes." And I got home and I was like, I just agreed to play center. I'm 6 foot, 170 pounds. I might die. Um, but I figured it out, right? And it taught me a lot about myself and just life, right? That sometimes it doesn't always go the way that you want it to, but you still got to put your best foot forward. So I think my heart, dedication. I spend a lot of time um, in this craft. Whether that's on Twitter, following coaches and getting into the X and O side, getting into the leadership side,
Yes.
getting into just kids. Like I really do enjoy this, and then I just think like I mentioned earlier, my relationship with my coach,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
the why I do this, right? I think is what makes me a, a good coach. It's not I'm not the best X's and O guy. I'm not this and that, but the why behind why I do it, I think is genuine, and it is something that especially in I found myself in small schools. The kids in those areas need these not, home life's not always great, and stuff. And those are my favorite ones, the ones that have some stuff going on at home, that coming and hanging out with me for 2.5 hours every day is the highlight of their day. So
I,
yeah, I don't think it's an X and O thing. I don't think any one thing in particular, but just I think my why and why I do this um, resonates hopefully to all my kids and resonates to people who watch me do it. That I had an amazing experience with football, and I want to make an amazing experience for every kid that comes through my program.
it must be interesting because you're a former player, and then
Mhm.
you become a coach, and you do this for a while. And I always, and then you also, we were talking off camera. We watch NFL, we watch football also.
Yeah.
At the same time, you watch that also. So I just have to ask. I mean, does Coach Derek Dean have any other hobbies outside of football right now? Is he? There's anything else he
Funny,
likes to do?
funny that you ask, and only
Yes.
people on the video are going to see this, but I will show you. I'm sitting in my
I
office,
love
and
that
if you
show
look here,
Suits. That's what they say.
there's a shelf full of board games, but that's not all
That's
the
all
board
board
games.
games.
Yeah, that's all, but James, that's not all, man.
Oh my god.
Hey, James, that's also not all.
Oh my god. So you're a board game guy. I love it.
I do. I love to play board games. I tell people all the time, I'm maybe the biggest nerd out there. I love
I've
Marvel.
never. I mean, I have board games here, but I've never seen that many in one sitting, in one
Yeah,
room.
so I
I've
think the
never
last
seen
time
any
I
in one room.
counted, there's like I actually am not gonna say the number
Yeah,
just
well, that one wall, that one. I mean, that's like at least 100 or something in there. Clear.
yeah, it I think it's like between 150 and 175. Yeah.
Well, I did my. So, do you have like game nights? You guys have game nights and stuff? Or
I try. So I'm obviously busy during football season,
oh yeah,
but I have a fraternity brother who lives in Indianapolis that I try to go see. He lives in Fishers, Indiana, which is like a suburb of Indianapolis.
yeah.
I go play with him. There's a guy that I met actually through him that I try. We use an online service called Board Game Arena, which has a handful of board games on there that we can play simultaneously on our phones or iPads or
Wow.
whatever, even our computers. So try to play with them. It's slowed down now. My girlfriend now is not a huge, didn't grow up playing board games, but board games have always kind of been a part of my life. It's something that me and my grandfather bonded over pretty early in life. I grew up playing Monopoly and Sorry and Clue and stuff with him,
That's
and I actually was working for Enterprise at the time, and the gentleman that I was taking home told me I'm having a game night, and I was like, oh, like, are you playing Monopoly? Like, what are you playing? And he said, no, 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 we don't play games like that. And I was like, oh, sorry,
yeah. I know.
didn't
Like what you
understand
like.
there
What
was
you talking about over there? Yeah.
didn't know if there was different ones. And he mentioned a couple games. And the girl I was dating at the time, we were in Target, and I saw one of them, and I was like, "Hey, do you want to try this?" And I did, and from that time on, I spent a lot of my time listening to board game podcasts, board game
There are
YouTube.
board game podcast. Yeah, I didn't even
Oh
know.
yeah, the board game podcast is huge, and we're lucky. I'm lucky, I guess, that I live in Indiana, and Indianapolis hosts the largest board game convention in the United States. It's called Gen Con.
And you went to it?
I have been. It's been a couple years because it's always like right at the start of football season.
Oh my
Since I've
god.
started coaching, I haven't been able to make it. But right before I got into coaching, I was lucky enough to get to go. And there's like thousands and thousands and thousands of people that go to this convention. They set up an area in Lucas Oil Stadium with a game library where people can literally sit and play games all hours of the night. Yeah. So
I like board games. I should not be surprised. There's something for everybody. There's something for everybody.
yeah.
I'm
But
surprised.
outside of board
I play a
games,
board game with you. I'd play some with you.
heck
I see
yeah,
you. I play some. I
for
love board.
sure. I play card boards. I'm not much of a role playing game like Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh
I don't
yeah.
get it. I like the boards. And I don't know. It's one of those things that I'm super competitive. So and I like to feel smart, even if I'm not always the smartest guy in the room. But if my strategy is better than your, and that's the thing with a lot of the games that I have, they're what they consider hobby board games.
Right.
So they take a lot of the luck. So there's not a lot of dice. There's not a lot of it's a lot of is your strategy better than the other
I love
people at
that.
the
I
table?
love that. Yeah.
And I love that, and I'm super competitive. So, and when you talk about hobbies, I also play disc golf. I
Oh,
loved it. I love to disc golf. I probably have 200 discs. Yeah, I don't think my disc golf bag's in here. No, it's not.
I love it.
But I have a whole backpack that I carry, play disc golf with, that's made specially for disc golf. I love to fish.
Okay.
I love watching TV shows. I'm a big TV show guy, movie guy. Love music. But yeah, I feel like it on the surface, if you just saw me, you would say that dude is maybe the biggest jock I've ever met because
Right. Yeah. You think? Yeah.
I do love my sports. I'm a big guy. I'm like 6'4",
Yeah.
pushing 300 pounds. I'm a big dude. And sports is kind of what my life is
Yeah.
when people see me. But when I come home, I play video games. I play a lot of sports video games.
Yes. Yes.
But
I know what you mean. Yes.
so I try to do a
Okay.
little bit of everything, and I'm always open to new things.
Good.
I got into reading last spring. I was never a big reader, but I got into that last spring, and I've enjoyed that. I've slowed down since football
Are
started.
you? I mean, now when you say reading, because nowadays folks are like, is it audio or is it
No,
actual?
no, no. I pick up books or I read on my Kindle
Okay.
on my
Okay. No, I
iPad.
was curious because everybody's doing the
Um,
audio thing now.
yeah, I
So.
I like sci-fi, some sci-fi stuff. Red Rising is a series that I'm almost through all the books in Red Rising. I read obviously like every young adult. I think I read Hunger Games,
Oh,
The
yeah.
Divergent series. But when I picked up books, I really started reading like leadership books and coaching books.
Oh, good. Good.
And I love those. I read a book by Jocko Willikin. He's a Navy
Yes.
SEAL. It's called Extreme Ownership.
Yep. There he is.
And I think that is a book that everybody should read because my gosh, it just the message in that book is extremely powerful. It's easy to make excuses. It's really hard to take ownership in everything you do, whether it's good or bad things. Right? There's always something you could change or you could have planned better for. Right? It's my fault basically,
Yeah.
that I didn't get the result I want. And I think, especially in the day and age that we live in, that idea of extreme ownership has kind of been lost. So that was awesome. I started his second book, Dichotomy of Leadership. That's been good. I'm reading Tony Dungy's book,
Oh,
Quiet Strength, which is kind of a tie for us here, being from Indianapolis. Coach Dungy
yeah.
obviously coached the Colts.
Yes.
But yeah, I love roller coasters.
Oh, okay.
So I like to go ride roller coasters. We're not too far from Cedar Point, which is like the roller coaster capital of the world.
Yeah.
It's super awesome. But yeah, I like to say that, I'm up for anything one time.
I like
Uh,
that. That's good.
it,
Fearless, like me,
yeah,
fearless.
for sure.
Right.
And there's just, you don't really start to grow or advance in life unless you get uncomfortable. So it's
Yeah.
good to try things that make you uncomfortable, to take on challenges that make you uncomfortable because that's when you're going to grow. So I try to do those things. I've been lucky enough to always seems like I found a friend that is willing to go on that. Whether it's down the
Yeah.
board game thing, whether it's down the disc golf thing. I've always had some friend that's willing to jump on and kind of go with me down that. And I get a little obsessive. So
Love
when
it.
I get into something, it's like
I'm
I'm
in.
in.
I'm in.
I'm
I
in.
love it. I'm the same
Uh,
way. I'm the same way. I'm the
so,
same way.
but
Before,
yeah, so
yeah,
lots of different things.
I love it. Before we end, I would give you a chance. This is your podcast. I would give you a chance to ask me one question. Any question I didn't tell this beforehand. You can ask me any question you want. This is for your podcast, and you actually have me, the CEO of JLJ Media,
Yeah,
the creator of all things. Who's here? You get to ask me a question.
yeah. Man, I'm gonna go something that really doesn't have anything. If you had one piece of life advice to give my football team or just young people out there, period, what would that be? I know we talked a little bit about your journey in life, and you have a very interesting journey that's different from maybe from most people. So, what is one thing that you, old James or older James wishes he could go back and tell younger James?
Great question. That's a very good question. You should be a host or a show, and he is. There is it's the same. It's the two sides of the same coin. I tell people all the time, and I would tell younger James or Jamie, wherever I was back then, the same thing. There's no such thing as perfection, and there's no such thing as failure. I took both those words out of my vocabulary years ago because they any alliteration of them. There's no such thing as perfect or failure. Everything happens the way it's supposed to happen, and everything happens the way it happens. Um, but it's all up to you. Whatever you put in, that's what you get out. If you half-ass stuff, I'm gonna cuss for a second, folks. I say ass. You're gonna half-ass stuff, then you're gonna get half-ass stuff. If you don't put in the work, and we talked about this earlier, then you don't get it. And I learned that for me, some reason, because everything I've gotten hard work. I put into it. I've done it. Some things worked out, some things didn't. I was devastated when those things didn't work out, but I learned later they weren't supposed to work out. It's still part of the journey of my life. It's all part of it. All those things that didn't work out or be called failures are part of what makes me successful. That's the whole point. So, and some things look a little sloppy or it may not be as perfect along the way because there is no such thing as that. It's like you start from the bottom, you can only go up. It may not be a straight line. It may be a little wavy. It may be a couple of dips. Take off on a plane. Sometimes it drops a little bit and it goes back up. It's like I learned that. I mean, of everything. That's my personal life, professional life. I used to be a nurse. I used to work in the medical field. That's health, wellness. I'm 6 feet, 300 some pounds myself. I know how it is. I've been 155 pounds. I've been 400 pounds. I mean, I've been like, but there's still not mistakes. It's not, none of it's wrong. It's just that it's like that's where I was at that part of my life. And then I said, James, you're going to work on not being that anymore. And you start working on it. And now you're where you're supposed to be today. And that's just, I mean, to me, to your players, you may not win a game, but I'm sure there's some good stuff in that game that you did do, that you can work on. Or the things that you didn't do well, you can not do that again. Like work on not doing that again. There's a journey going. So you have to go up at some point. So you lose the next 4 or 5 games, but you may win that 6th game. And it's going to feel wonderful. Maybe win by 1 point or 3 points. It's going to be wonderful. And then you just keep going. And you may even drop again, but that's fine. But at least you know, you want to be able to walk away knowing I put everything into this, that I did try. Because there's nothing worse than not making it or things not happening. And when someone asks you, well, what did you do? And you can't say you did your all. That's the worst answer. If someone says, well, did you try this or try that? If you can't say yes, then that's a problem. And to me, as a man, as a person, that will destroy you more than anything else. And go, you know what? They're looking at me like I'm crazy. They're looking at me like James didn't do his all. That is the worst feeling. I have to be able to say, yeah, I did try all those 5 things. I did try it. Yeah. And it didn't happen, but I did try those 5 things.
Yeah. No, I think that's phenomenal. And it's almost like you've been in some of our talks and our into practice huddles and into game huddles with the, you get in what you put out. You can't give up. You got to continue to go. This journey's not going to be a straight line. It's not always going to be a up and straight line, right?
Oh.
So, man, I don't know. And you say that things always work out, that are supposed to work out. And I think that is something in my journey in life that I've really, I can agree with. I was at another school. It didn't work out there. And I had this opportunity with Attica pop up. And I do believe it's where I'm supposed to be. So I'm a big believer in things may not always go the way that you want them to go, but they're going the way they're supposed to go. And that's extremely powerful. And I think once you start to live that way and think that way, things get a lot easier.
Well, it does. When you don't fight it, when you stop fighting it,
yeah.
You have to I always say, let go, let God, right? So when you do, you have to just let go. You have to just let it go, and then just go where you need, and things will happen, and it'll come around to you. It'll come around to you. It will. If you're giving it your all, success will happen. It's going to happen. It may look a little differently. It may look exactly like the way you want it to. You never know. But if you don't continue, I had I'm a name drop for a second, folks. So folks at home, I was friends with 9-time Emmy winner Ed Asner, who passed away a couple of years ago. Mary Tyler Moore Show, Up. He was in all these a billion things. He said to me in an interview, he goes, James, it's like staying on the road. You want to try to get to somewhere to get something to eat. Well, if you turn off the road and stop, they're not going to eat. The way he said it was like he's 90-something years old and he was still working. He worked till he died. And he was just like, but that's his whole point was like, yeah, you may not find food for a while, or you may find food every 2 minutes. But if you get off the road or you stop driving down the road, you're not going to reach any food. You will starve to death. And I was like, I love that. First, I'm a food person, so that just speaks to me. But like I'm like, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Stay on the road. He has longevity. He has like 7 decades of work because he stayed on the road. And some of those times were feast or famine, right? That's what life is sometimes. Sometimes it's bad things happening over and over and over again for like a 6-month period. We've all been there. Then all of a sudden it opens up and everything's great. I mean, like that's how life works. And that's how work works, sports work. It's all, luck favors the prepared, they always say. Meaning there is no luck. Not really. But if you're prepared, or you say you get ready, stay ready, that's where we're getting ready. So that's kind of the whole thing, right?
Stay ready. If you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready.
Right. And that's the truth. It's happened to me in my life many times, but it happened to you. This opportunity came, and you were open to it. You were open to the universe. You were open to it. Came to you, and from those 23 applicants, you got it. That's an accomplishment, and that's where we're going to end the show. That's where we're going to end the show right there. The Rambler Report comes out every Thursday. This is a special episode on Saturday because he's special, so he gets his own episode on his own day. Shoot.
I don't know about all that, but I appreciate that, James.
You are. No, you are. I'm telling you are. So if I say it's if I said it in Hollywood, you are, then you are. No, but anyway, so his show comes out every Thursday on all the audio streaming service programs called the Rambler Report. So make sure you check that out. JLJ Media is on all social media platforms. We put out the show on those channels too. We always like promoting it on all our different things we do, so you can see it. And I mean, even if you're just like a fan of high school football and you don't live in Indiana, check it out. It's for everybody to listen to. Check it out and see what they're talking about, see what's going on, because you never know. That one talent from his school, from his team, or him himself, you might be seeing on Sunday nights on ESPN. Who knows?
No.
Stranger things have happened, Coach D. Stranger things have happened. So I'm just telling you, it can have. You may be able to see him on Monday night, Thursday night, whatever. Anyway,
I think I found my niche, man, and that's at the high school level, giving back to kids. But it's been fantastic to talk to you, James. I really appreciate you doing this. I think it's a little change up from what maybe people that have been listening are used to. Like I said, I don't really like to talk about myself, but it's just another way for people to kind of get an insight of the guy who's driving the ship.
Yes.
But it's not just me. There's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes, people who make it work, whether it's you and Doug helping with the podcast, the administrators in the school helping us out, the assistant coaches, families, friends, people who support our podcast. It really is. It's a whole community. And I'm extremely, extremely grateful to be part of that Attica community and welcome you into a little piece of that as well too, James.
Thank you. Yes, I will have to come. I want to come visit actually the school and everything. So
I would love it.
I got to figure that out. We got to figure that out when I get back to the Midwest. Folks, it's not easy to get there, but I can get there. I know how to get there now. Not easy from Los Angeles, but I know how to get there. It's more than 50 minutes. I'm James Lott Jr., and we'll talk to you next time.